If you've ever wondered what comes after this life, stay with me. What I'm about to share might change everything. Hit the subscribe bar and join us for more exciting stories from our Real Stories of Faith series. I did not know I would die that day. It began like any other. Coffee, a to-do list, a half-hearted prayer, and a hurried goodbye to my wife. I was too busy for breakfast, too proud to ask for help, and too distracted to notice that my soul had been quietly starving for years. At exactly 7:46 a.m., I died. A semi-truck ran a red light and T-boned my car. They told me that the impact was instant. No time for panic, no time for goodbyes. Just a sudden feeling of being thrust into nothingness, a piercing light, and then quietness. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. I awoke in a place with no ceiling, no floor, only stillness. The light was not blinding, but warm and alive. My body was gone, yet I had never felt more real. I floated, not with wings or weightlessness, but with the absence of form and without fear. Then the silence spoke. "Do you know where you are?" The voice wasn't thunderous. It was gentle, like water running over stones, deep and familiar. I turned, or at least I willed myself to turn, and before me stood a presence. No face, no form I could describe, just presence. I think I'm dead," I stammered. "Yes," the voice replied. "You are." My heart, though I had none, felt as though it clenched. "Is this heaven?" The voice didn't answer immediately. Instead, I was shown something, not with eyes, but with understanding. It was a kaleidoscope of images floating around me. I saw scenes from my life, childhood laughter, my mother's embrace, my first kiss, the birth of my daughter, the arguments with my wife, the bitterness I nursed like an old injury. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "Because before you know where you are," the voice said, "you must understand who you were." With the wave of his hand, I was taken, not walked, into what I can only call a hall of mirrors. But they didn't reflect my body. They reflected my soul. I looked around me in awe, not sure of how I should react. It was so amazing. The mirrors were trimmed in gold with surfaces as clear as water. Each glistened in a soft light whose source I could not locate. Each mirror showed a moment. A time I spoke truth, a time I lied, a time I encouraged a stranger, a time I let someone suffer in silence because I was too busy. I then realized that these mirrors showed who I was throughout my entire life. As the mirrors of my life began to unfold before me, I felt a tightening in my soul, like a knot that had been there for years, suddenly yanked tight. Each reflection wasn't just a memory, it was a moment of truth, stripped bare of the justifications I had used to protect myself. There was nowhere to hide, no filters, no flattering angles, just raw, unedited reality seen through the eyes of an all-knowing God. At first, the images were simple. Me as a child, laughing freely, innocent and unburdened. I smiled until the joy faded into scenes of me as a teenager, experimenting with cruelty in the form of sarcasm, pushing boundaries with rebellion, masking insecurity with pride. I winced as I watched myself mock someone behind their back, and a pang of shame rippled through me. I remembered the moment. At the time, I thought it was harmless, but now, seeing it from a divine perspective, I could see the impact I never acknowledged. That person had gone home in tears. Scene after scene, I stood silently, each image peeling back another layer of my soul. I watched as I ignored the homeless man on the corner. His name was James, God told me. I had thought of him as a nuisance, but in that mirror, I saw him as someone loved by God, someone whose desperate prayer for help had intersected with my path, and I had walked away. My gut turned. I began to tremble, overwhelmed by the realization that my life, one I thought was fairly decent, had been a collage of missed opportunities, selfish decisions, and subtle sins I never named. I saw how often I had spoken harshly to my wife, not out of evil, but impatience. How often I chose work over my daughter's quiet invitations to play. How often I gave God my leftovers, telling myself it was enough. I wanted to run. I wanted to cry out. That's not who I really am. But I knew it was. The mirrors didn't lie. They simply revealed. And yet, in the midst of the sorrow, there were moments of grace. I saw myself holding my daughter after a nightmare, praying softly with her. I saw the time I comforted a grieving coworker, not with perfect words, but with presence. I saw flickers of light, small yet genuine. They didn't erase the weight of my failures, but they reminded me that I had been capable of choosing love. I broke down, not from fear, but from the crushing beauty of truth. Every mirror was an invitation to see, not just what I had done, but who I had become. I whispered, I didn't know. I didn't realize. And God answered gently, but now you do. In that moment, regret and mercy collided in me, like fire and water. The pain of revelation was undeniable, but it came with a strange sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, seeing the truth was the first step toward becoming something new. Let me know in the comments, what would you ask God if you met him face to face? We were suddenly in what looked like a vast field under a sky I can't describe. The colors had sound, the air had memory. God, if I can use that name, stood with me, not towering or aloof, near, infinite, and heartbreakingly holy. You have questions, he said. My soul trembled. Why now? I thought I had more time. I was going to change. I had plans to be better. Yes, he said. But good intentions are not the same as repentance. That hit me. I went to church. I prayed sometimes. I believed in you. You believed I existed, he said, but you rarely believed me. I didn't know how, I cried. And yet, he said gently, you knew how to trust your phone, your job, your fear, your pride. You placed faith in many things, just not me. I saw then what I had never truly seen, the weight of my sin. Not just the obvious things, lust, greed, lies, but the subtle ones, indifference, self-reliance, judgment. They clung to my soul like smoke, and in the light of his presence, I saw how ugly it all was. I fell to my knees, or whatever one does without knees in eternity. I'm sorry, I whispered. I wasted so much. God didn't respond with thunder. He simply extended what felt like a wave of pure love. It crashed into me, not to crush, but to cleanse. Tears poured from a place deeper than my heart. Can you forgive me? I asked. He didn't answer with words. He showed me a cross. In a flash, I saw him, Jesus, not like the paintings, but radiant with wounds that still glowed. Eyes that saw everything and still loved. He didn't need to speak. His scars did. I died once, he seemed to say, so you wouldn't have to die forever. And I understood. This was not just judgment, it was mercy, but it was also choice. There are two doors, God said. One leads to eternal presence with me, the other eternal separation. You may choose. I looked at Jesus, then at my past. Do I deserve it? No, he said, but that's why it's called grace. I wept again. Then I choose you. And in that instant, everything changed. And the light became brighter until it swallowed me whole. I gasped. My lungs ached. I blinked, and paramedics were shouting, CPR, defibrillators. My chest hurt like fire. I was back. 3 minutes I'd been gone, they said. 3 minutes felt like eternity. That was 5 years ago. I haven't lived the same since. I no longer chase empty success. I no longer assume tomorrow is guaranteed. I spend more time listening to people, to the Spirit. I apologize quicker. I forgive faster. I pray not out of ritual, but relationship, because I met God. I saw my soul in His light, and I live to tell about it. So if you're reading this, don't wait for a collision to awaken your spirit. Don't live as if you are the center of your story. Life is a vapor, but grace is eternal. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope. Subscribe for more real-life stories that shine God's light in dark places.